Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social side, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force of air. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on UCY.TV, my favorite little online network. And I'm your host for the next hour. It is the 14th of November, 2017. And things just keep getting weirder. Now, they had an election out in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, a little bit ago. And it was obviously a fraud. It was a constructed vote. So the Muslim, Naheed Nenshi, gets in for a third term. And, you know, where did I see that? Oh, here's a story here. Here's a story. Now, the mayor of Calgary, the mayor of Edmonton, Alberta, is ragging on my favorite football team of all time, the Edmonton Eskimos. And they want them to change their name because apparently an Inuit complained or something along those lines. And so we have several different kinds of human rights. And remember, a human's an animal, not a man. So anyway, so we have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights out of the UN, which is the most satanic group of people ever on the planet. And everybody's going, that's where all this human rights crap came from, by the way. Somebody looks at you crooked, then they threaten they're going to take you to the Human Rights Tribunal. And it's a tribunal. It isn't a court. It's a freaking tribunal. It's not legal or lawful. It's just a tribunal. Now, I called one time to the Human Rights Tribunal several years ago. I don't even remember what it was about. But it was more or less for fun because what happened was exactly what I thought would happen. I really don't qualify to make a complaint, really, because I'm a white male of European descent. They don't really want to work with me or anybody of that kind. So, but we also have, besides the universal human rights, we have the indigenous human rights. And I remember a guy a while back, he said, like, wait a minute. This is a Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And then they have the indigenous rights. So his question was, are indigenous people not human? Because they seem not to be included, or they're above or beside whatever the universal human rights. So this is one of the things that they're doing, and so now this gives the indigenous people a certain amount of power given to it by the United Nations just to screw the West over some more. Then don't get me wrong, I got nothing wrong with the native. I got no problem with the native people. I would just give about anything to get them hooked up with us because we're fighting the same enemy. But as they do, is they like to divide and conquer, not the natives, but the globalists. So they're trying to get the Edmonton Eskimos to change their name to something else. Somebody suggested this is so weird, maybe they'll call themselves the Edmonton Snowflakes, because it seems to be the snowflakes that are running the country. But anyways, Eskimo has nothing whatsoever to do with the Inuit. The word has nothing to do with them. It's totally different. So, but they want. So now this is where it's really bad. You got a mayor who's only going to be there for 4 years likely, and he wants the Edmonton Eskimos, who've been there since, I don't know, the last ice age, pushing the Edmonton Eskimos to change the name. My advice to the Edmonton Eskimos and the people of Edmonton is tell your mayor to shove it. If the mayor and one Inuit finds the name Edmonton Eskimos offensive, then I told the people to start emailing the mayor and tell the mayor that he is offensive to the rest of the population. So shut up. Okay, so that's Edmonton, Alberta, and Edmonton is in the process of becoming a sanctuary city, which breaks federal law. But then we have a Muslim who is the Minister of Immigration, so they're not going to say anything about sanctuary cities because they're trying to flood these people in any way they can. So here's a story out of Calgary, Alberta. What's in a name? Well, for Alberta First Nations seeking heritage recognition, plenty. Application made to rename Calgary and other places with traditional Stoney Nakota words. If a group of First Nation gets its wish, Calgary will be renamed Wichspa Oyad, Stoney Nakota terms that roughly translate to mean elbow town, and that is the river there. The Stoney Nakota have applied to have a long list of well-known places across southern Alberta changed to reflect traditional names given by their people. The application letter to the Alberta government also includes Canmore, the Bow River, Mount Allen, and dozens of other sites that they consider to be part of their territory. The Stoney Nakota people are the original occupants of the land, and place names should be changed to their traditional Stoney Nakota names in order to allow the culture and history of these lands to become more known and respected, reads the letter. The First Nations argue the English or Cree names given to many of these places have failed to reflect their specific indigenous history. This lack of recognition contributes to an increasing threat that Stoney Nakota heritage will be overrun. Well, Calgary was named Calgary right after the last ice age, I think, just like Edmonton, the Edmonton Eskimos. So they want to regain their heritage before it's overrun. Well, this is again part and parcel of the teardown of this nation. They want to take the first prime minister's name off of the schools because they say he was racist, having no bearing on the time period that he was the prime minister. And now this is the indigenous rights out of the United Nations raising its ugly head. You see, because the prime minister, and make no mistake, these are not our prime ministers, these are the prime ministers of the crown, which is a corporation, which makes them the CEO of the corporation, known as Canada. Now, he said that Canada, we don't have any culture. And so they're going to remove everything, just like they're doing in the States. Statues coming down, flags can't be flown, names have to be changed, history eradicated, so that they can have the new history, the new age, so to speak. Anyways, the Stoney Nation's descendants of the Sioux include 3 bands with the largest reserve west of Calgary. They have been suing the province and the federal government over their Aboriginal and treaty rights, including land and resources, in a complex case that was originally filed in 2003. Now, again, this is about taking our nation down. All huge portions of this country are being handed back to the natives, okay, so that the natives can sell those lands to international corporations. It's all wrote down, folks. All you got to do is read it. Anyways, the claim covers a big part of southern Alberta and eastern slopes of the Rocky Mountains. Douglas Ray, a lawyer for First Nations, said the name change application is not part of the lawsuit, but an attempt by bands to prove their ties to the land. The Stonies are asserting their rights, and good evidence of these claims is to formally ask for recognition of the Stoney Nakoda names, Ray said. Some of the proposed name changes are fairly literal translations. Bow River is the Lejabidi Wapta. That sounds a lot like the Bow River, yeah. Elder Wallace Ear said the word for Bow River is Wapta, the first word, I can't pronounce it, plus Wapta, a place where people made bows out of Saskatoon saplings. Now, what people feel need to understand here, now I don't know how many Stoney people are left, but it ain't many. The city of Calgary just crossed the 1 million mark. Edmonton's about, I think, around 600,000 or something. So the mass majority of the population in southern Alberta is not Stoney. But we have the indigenous rights nonsense going on. So the proposal for Canmore is a pretty simple name to say, Canmore, will be changed to Chawapa Chipikitnyan Kudubai. That's a mouthful. Has no direct connection to his existing moniker. The town was named Canmore in the 1880s by a railway official after an ancient king of Scotland. Elder Frank Powerface said the Stoney name reflects a hunter who fooled himself by shooting at what he thought was a wolf in the willows, but there was no animal, only willows. So, okie dokie, that was a while ago, and you didn't see a wolf, and you shot at the willows, and now you want to rename Canmore. This is nuts. Alberta's Geographical Names Program has never before dealt with such an extensive list of requested changes. The public consultation plan, Ron Keelan, program coordinator, said the applications will be evaluated in a process that will include public consultations. Researchers will look at old maps and historical documents. We are in the early stages of looking at it, and we are very much looking forward to engaging the Stoney Nakoda on these names, he said. Final decision on running natural geographic features are made by the Alberta Historical Resources Foundation and the government. Changing community names is up to the province, but requests that involve First Nations must be presented to Ottawa. So it is possible for a natural location to have both an official and traditional name. In 1994, the province changed the name of Mount Laurier west of Calgary to also include its Stoney Nakoda traditional name, Liamakchekchi, whatever, which means that flat surface, rock, or mountain. So this garbage is going to continue if we don't put a stop to it, and there's going to be a fortune spent on lawyers and government agencies and all this kind of stuff, and guess who will be paying for that? That's correct, you will. And something's got to piss you people off sooner or later. And again, I have the utmost respect for the Native people. They got run over just the way we're being run over now by the same damn corporation that ran them over is running us over, and we need to come together, not stay separated. We're fighting the same damned enemy. Let's see. Rights advocates threaten lawsuit over proposed Alberta law on gay-straight alliance. Alberta impaired driving laws being revised to respond to pot legalization. Let's see. Now, I saw this morning when I went to get a coffee that everything that is abnormal is being forwarded in the media as normal. From the the gay mayors, we have a transgendered mayor of a small community near Montreal. I saw in the paper this morning it was about a happy family, two parents with the child. They're both women. But this is right on the front page of the Toronto Star. Everything that is abnormal is normal. Zina's going to see what this problem is that the rights advocates threaten lawsuit over proposed Alberta law on gay-straight alliances. A Calgary group plans to launch a constitutional challenge if the provincial government's Bill 24 to support gay-straight alliances becomes law. The proposed legislation would stipulate that Alberta students who join the alliances, clubs where LGBT and straight students can get together in a safe space cannot be outed to their parents by teachers or staff. But John Carpri, president of the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom, says the bill doesn't respect the rights of religious and independent schools or their parents' charter guaranteed rights. It attacks and undermines the religious character of schools by forcing them to have these gay alliances, which are not peer support groups, but they are political clubs that promote an ideology that is hostile. Are you ready for this crap? I thought it was hostile to everybody. It's not. It apparently is hostile to Islam. Oh no, to Islam, to Catholics and evangelical Christianity, to Orthodox Judaism, and to other religions, he said. Carberry is not yet revealing the identities of the parents, independent schools, and other stakeholders whose belief or on whose behalf he would be filing the constitutional challenge. Now, it's amazing that they put Islam in front of everybody else. They have Islam, it's hostile to Islam. And then at the last one is Judaism. So Judaism and Islam are completely connected together. So it's like a squeeze play here. We've got Islam and Judaism and then everybody else in the middle. It's absolutely getting crazy. Absolutely getting crazy. No, I got a call. This might interest some people. I got a call from Farmer George today, and he was asking me about Comer, which is the group that's trying to bring back the Bank of Canada that really never existed. So we were talking about that, and then George brought up this idea of a problem. You know, he said, what's the root of all evil? Well, the root of all evil is supposed to be money. And so we had a pretty good chat about some stuff, and a little bit about his upcoming court case, which is the same court case that Michael Schmidt and the others went through, only George was late to the scene of the court case. They never delivered his charges to him. They know where he lives. George ain't hiding. And so we were talking about maybe him having it thrown out because of a case that I'd sent to him earlier. A drug dealer had his charges thrown out because the police didn't make any effort to deliver the summons. And so he blamed the police for being tardy. So I told George we can probably use the same thing for you. But I got thinking about this money thing after we were done talking, and I'm always calling, the UN and the royal family and the Vatican and London City and Washington D.C. and all evil. And what is the root of all evil? I got thinking after I was talking to George. And the answer is money. And I mentioned it to him when we were talking, but it didn't dawn on either one of us. The root of all evil is money. And where is all the gold, which is money? What you have in your wallet is called debt notes. It's not real. It's like the legal system that made it up. It's a fiction. It's to indebt everybody. It's bad news. So, what is the root of all evil? Money. And where's all the gold? Well, apparently it's not in Fort Knox anymore. Apparently there's a gutload of it at the Vatican, and there's a gutload of it in the possession of the royal family. And I think there's a gutload of it in China. So, the root of all evil is all spawned out of the Vatican. And the Vatican controls the royal family. So hopefully that helps people understand who it is we're fighting against. We're fighting against evil. And we need to understand that and deal with it. Our forefathers knew who the evil was. It just kind of kills me because we for some reason don't get it. I think we're more easily deceived than our forefathers. But then our forefathers weren't getting hammered with propaganda 24/7. Now, I don't know what's going on here. But hopefully it's worth something. Petition calling for resignation of Saskatchewan Education Minister hits 1,200 signatures. A petition asking the Premier to remove Saskatchewan Minister of Education, Bowen I, from Cabinet has more than 1,200 signatures. The change.org petition was created on Monday by Liz James, a Saskatoon-based blogger who has been writing about Eyre's recent comments in the Legislative Assembly centered around her son's homework. On Tuesday, Eyre reaffirmed her commitment to treaty education in front of a few dozen members of the Saskatchewan School Board Association. She declined to comment on calls for her to resign. She came under fire after a speech in the legislature on November 1st in which she referenced her son's homework, saying he brought home a history assignment which denigrated his ancestors. In the speech, Eyre said her son had copied from the board the following facts, which were presented as fact, that European settlers were colonists, pillagers of the land, who knew only buying and selling and didn't respect Mother Earth. See, that's another shot at us, folks. Okay? That the European, his forefathers, and European settlers were pillagers of the land who knew only buying and selling and didn't respect Mother Earth. Saskatchewan political blogger Tammy Robert wrote about Eyre's speech on her website, saying the education minister was threatening treaty education in the curriculum and broadly and politically condemning teachers, administrators, and her own ministry. Speaking to reporters on Tuesday, Eyre did not apologize for her remarks in the assembly. I regret any confusion. I certainly regret referencing my son. He is 12. I do not want to draw him in any further, she said. When asked if she felt she misled the legislature on the first, she said, if there was any misunderstanding that was caused, I absolutely regret that as well. So anything that they can do, and see, this is, who was this broad that come up with this petition? Change.org petition. Now, that's probably being funded it'll be funded by government at some point, and it will be funded by outfits like Soros. These are the change agents. These are the agents of the evil ones. And we need to, stick it to them. So in case people don't know, I probably mentioned it before, but if people don't know, this is the 500th anniversary of the Reformation. Started up by Martin Luther in Rome, which basically kicked the snot out of Babylon. If you go to study Rome back then, it was quite a bit like it is right now here in the West. All morals out the door. The general public paying for the government or the church, who is holding the people under the boot of tyranny. And the Reformation absolutely kicked the Vatican, Rome, Catholicism in the teeth, and really, really hobbled those entities for a long time. But again, over generations, these people weasel their way, they get their foot back in the door, and through propaganda and that, people don't have the history that they need, and these people eventually get back into control. So the Vatican, at Vatican II, I think it was 62, somewhere in there, that's when they really went after the churches to get them on side. And you haven't. The churches have just gone in the toilet. They're Babylon as well now, moving for this world order. So we have a lot to do, and we have time to do it, but not a lot of time. When the mayor of Toronto, or the Toronto Council, is going to bring in aides for the councillors to work with the councillors. And the prerequisite for you becoming one of these aides to the councillors of the City of Toronto is that you must be Muslim. Which is, again, kind of a kick in the teeth of our forefathers and those that built this country. And the reason they're doing this is to get these people used to being around council, teach them how to become counselors, get them to run for council in the future. And before you know it, we will be run by Muslims or Islam. Now, again, I talked about the two universal human rights, the indigenous rights, and the Declaration of UN Universal Human Rights. But there's one other human rights, and that's Islamic human rights. And I read that, and I'm going to tell people, go read it, understand it. But I did read the Cairo Declaration, I don't know, probably 2-3 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, and it was very disconcerting. And then I ran into a UN document going through all of these different religions in that and different political ideals. And in that paper, they said that Islam seems to be the best fit to be the universal human rights. So this is far more than a bunch of migrants coming into the country. Okay. According to these documents, Islam will be the universal human right. And I think that's one of the reasons that they're trying to obliterate our history right in front of our eyes. So that when the new deal comes along, that's why they're teaching kids, even though you can't run religion in schools because it might upset somebody, they're teaching the children to submit to Islam. And the meaning of the word Islam is submit. So they're taking us down through psychology, getting us to consent to things that if we had a half a brain, there is no way in hell that we would submit to any of this nonsense. But we've been doing it. It's like we have no voice anymore, right? Okay, so, this is how much this has changed. This teacher, or this Minister of Education spoke up, and is getting bitch slapped now. Now, up until just recently, before this indigenous rights thing got going real hard, nobody would dare call the settlers pillagers of the land who have no respect for Mother Earth, okay? Because that's the switch out again, is you would become, the religion is environmental. The religion is about Mother Earth. Mother Earth is the new God. And this is something that the Muslims don't understand yet. And I did have that chat with them, and they're absolutely convinced that Sharia will be the law and Islam will be the faith. And that's it. And now I did explain to them, but when you done wiping us out, they're going to wipe your ass out, because the God is the earth, not Allah. Okay? Not Muhammad, not Jesus, the earth. And I read a book quite some time ago, which really threw me, because what it said in there was they had to kill God, and that was back in the mid-19th century when Darwinism and evolution was taking hold. And they said very specifically that they had to kill God in order to bring ecology forward. Right? So now you're praising Earth, not the Creator. And they went on to say that the scientists will be the new priests. So just like you couldn't dissent against the priest, you can't dissent against science. That's why you're a dissenter if you don't believe Al Gore and the IPCC. The scientists are the priests. And I wish people would understand that. If you just, people just seem to say, well, science is important. Is it? Were the priests important? I mean, if you sit down seriously and look exactly what science has accomplished, okay, science became the priests of evolution. And I have no use for scientists. None. They started making up the weirdest shit right away in order to push the ecology movement. And they're still doing it. They just make shit up. Just like the priests were making shit up. But you couldn't talk back to a priest or talk down to a priest or challenge a priest or be dissenting of what a priest said, and you can't do it now with science. I do it all the time, of course, and I'm right. But I'm just one little voice out there in the wilderness. Now, staying in with our Babylonian ways here today. At least this guy got busted. Oh, but he's white. I see why he got busted. Anyway, Saskatoon man who directed child porn, kept depraved collection, sentenced to 12 years. Warning, this story contains details readers may find disturbing. Well, I find it very disturbing that the media is not telling us about the long-term plans for the takedown of our nation. I find that probably more disturbing than this, because it will affect everybody here, not some few people, but this is, I'm sure, quite disturbing. And I'm not trying to make any light of it, but there's a huge story brewing, and has been for a very, very long time, that the media never seems to be able to see. Wonder why that is. Anyways, Saskatoon man has been given a 12-year sentence after pleading guilty to 40 counts of possessing, producing, and sharing child pornography. Philip Michael Ciccone, 28, received a sentence Tuesday in a Saskatoon courtroom. Judge Vanessa Monair said 12 and a half months' time served will be subtracted from Ciccone's sentence, so he will spend 10 years and 11 months at the Regional Psychiatric Center in Saskatoon. Defense attorney Val Harvey said Ciccone wants to seek treatment for his addictions. I think there is hope for your rehabilitation, said the judge, who decided Ciccone should spend his sentence at the psychiatric center. Ciccone was also given 80 days to pay an $8,000 victim impact surcharge. During a court appearance earlier in the year, Ciccone admitted that he directed the real-time sexual abuse of children overseas using the computer program Skype from his parents' home in Saskatoon. RCMP Jared Clark from Saskatchewan's Internet Child Exploitation Unit testified during the sentencing hearing that Ciccone's collection of pornography was by far the most depraved collection I've seen. The Crown was seeking a 17-year sentence, while the defense had asked for 7. Ciccone was found to have had more than 580 unique videos and more than 4,000 unique photos. In total, 10,126 videos and 4,714 photos were in his possession, according to the Crown. He admitted that he had spent more than $20,000 over 5 years to pay for the online exchanges. Plans to abuse toddlers overseas. Ciccone would discuss his sexual interests with the parents of the abused children. Those children range in various points from infants to 14 years old. The parents would then abuse the children according to his specific directions. The court was shown graphic and disturbing videos which were seized from Ciccone's computer. The images and videos may have them involving torture and bondage were, in Clark's words, the worst he has seen in a 6-year career investigating similar cases. Prosecutor Morelli said that the investigation into Ciccone's case began on Valentine's Day this year when police came across a single pornographic image uploaded to a computer address in Saskatoon. Ciccone was found to have texted children as young as 10 directly in Florida, Australia, and Saskatoon. At one point, a 14-year-old texted him and said she might kill herself. Ciccone replied that he'd want her to film the suicide so that he could watch it. Morelli said the police raided Ciccone's home while he was preparing to travel to the Philippines to engage in direct physical abuse with preteens and toddlers. Harvey argued that Ciccone feels remorse and empathy for his victims and said he was previously ostracized and intimidated both at school and at the workplace. He was bullied, and now he feels remorse. Get a rope, build a gallows, and hang the son of a bitch. Pretty simple. We really have a problem in the West here, and it's apparently getting worse and worse and worse as we go along here. You do this to children and then blame being bullied at school for the problem. That doesn't cut it. No way, no how. This is absolutely freaking insane. It's the only way you can describe it. It's insanity. I cannot, what really bugging me is I really cannot believe what is happening to Alberta. I mean, when I lived in Alberta, which was back in the 70s, and that's some time ago, but back then, men were men. And this idea that these two-bit corrupt politicians working for the UN and the globalists even have the nerve to bring up the idea that the Edmonton Eskimos are going to have to change their name, and that all these towns and cities are going to have to change their names. Is just mind-boggling. Oh my God. Oh, here we go. Here we go. This is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. See, this is exactly what happened in Russia when the Iron Curtain fell. All of these so-called authorities filled their pockets. These guys, politicians, cops, judges, lawyers, all hooked up with the multinational corporations, and the assets of the public assets of Russia were sold off, and it's the exact same thing that's happening here. Now, you couldn't get a bigger lowlife than this guy. Julian Fantino, who used to be the police chief of Toronto. Okay, the police chief of Toronto, Julian Fantino, heads marijuana company after change of heart. Julian Fantino says he embarked on a fact-finding mission to learn more about medical marijuana after serving as Minister of Veterans Affairs in the Harper government. Once an outspoken critic of legalizing pot, Julian Fantino says he's changed his mind after he found out he can fill his pockets with a shitload of cash. Mind after veterans convinced him of the benefits of medical marijuana in treating post-traumatic stress disorder and managing pain. The former Toronto police chief was recently named executive chair of the GTA Medical Marijuana Company. Fantino told a news conference Tuesday for the launch of Althea in Vaughan that he supports legalizing pot as long as children can access it. Organized criminals don't benefit, and the cops crack down on impaired driving. Okay, so he's the head of the company and executive chair of the company, and he supports legalizing marijuana as long as organized criminals don't benefit. Now, Fantino, having been the chief of police of Toronto, knows that the government is an organized crime syndicate. And it is organized, and it is criminal, and they are going to benefit big time. He's talking about the lawful men and women who would grow some weed and sell it to their friends. That's what they're referring to as organized crime, organized criminals. And the cops crack down on impaired driving. So, Fantino's going to fill his pockets with legalized weed. The cops are going to crack down on anybody. I told people this as soon as I heard this push to legalize marijuana. I said, you stupid asses. You think you're going to legalize it and you're just going to wander around and grow your own and everything's happy. It's all about the cash. They grow it, they sell it, they get the cash. You grow it, you go to jail, they get the cash. You smoke it and drive, you get a fine or go to jail, and they get the cash. Okay? And they're laughing all the way to the bank. And it's a make-work program for the lawyers and the judges and the cops. I don't know what it's going to take. I really don't know what it's going to take for people to get this. It's so easy to get. He said he would use medical marijuana if it was prescribed to him by a doctor. This is Fantino. For me, it would be a healthy choice, Fantino said. No throwing you in behind bars and throwing the key away for 30 years would be a healthy choice for the public. Fantino also worked as chief of the London and York Region Police Forces and commissioner of the Ontario Provincial Police before he was elected to serve one term as an MP representing Vaughan Woodbridge. He said he has embarked on a fact-finding mission to learn more about medical marijuana after serving. So it's a repeat. They're going to repeat see this? This is doubling up on the propaganda. This is the same paragraph as I read at the beginning of this thing. That enabled us to be more helpful to people who are not obtaining results from their medications, usually opiates. He said the medical profession is becoming better educated and better informed, and there are more and more people who are being helped greatly with medical cannabis. He was joined by former RCMP Deputy Commissioner Raf Sukar, who is Althea's president and chief executive officer. Sukar said he, too, was critical of marijuana even when he was appointed to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's marijuana legalization task force in 2016. My thoughts were medical users of cannabis were individuals who wanted to use cannabis and hide it under the guise of medical purposes, he said. But as part of the task force, he met with medical marijuana users, and he realized he couldn't have been more wrong. The two former cops framed their business as one that will help counteract widespread opiate use and abuse. Instead of doctors prescribing patients opiates, medications for pain, they can buy marijuana from the two cops, Fantino said. Well, he didn't say the two cops. This is so bad wrong. It's absolutely nuts. But this is the way it goes, folks, until we get our act together. So two cops were running around throwing people in jail for weed for how many friggin' years? Both of them end up in the government. Both of them have a change of heart. Both of them start a company to make money selling weed, the very same weed that they used to throw people in jail for. Ironic? I mean, this is going over the top, but this is exactly the kind of crap that happened in Russia. People who sit there, I see this all the time. People going, "Oh, Putin's such a great guy." No, he's not. I mean, who the hell knows who Putin is? For one, they put him up as this great leader. He's really just a figurehead. And Russia got took down twice. He got took down when they killed the Tsar's family, and it got taken down again when the Iron Curtain came down. And the reason the Iron Curtain came down was because of a Jew named Warburg. So yeah, we have now I could probably find both these clowns. I'm pretty sure I'll get Fantino there. Yeah. You can tie both these clowns to the UN. And you can tie them to the UN Because one was RCMP, one was head of the OPP and the Toronto Police Force, and you have the international police chiefs. Everything has been internationalized. Okay, so that's why the police don't stand at the border and tell the migrants they ain't coming in. Because they're all part and parcel of the game to take us down. Instead of the cops standing at the unguarded entries into Canada, or putting some guard posts up there where they know these guys are coming across. If you know this is where they're coming across, then put up a guard post and tell them they ain't coming in. If you cross one step into this country illegally, you will be shot on the spot. No, that's not how it operates. Is this all the luggage you have? Well, listen, you've carried a long way. Why don't you give it to us? We'll carry it over to the SUVs. You get in, make yourself comfortable. We'll get you somewhere and get you set up. Yes, don't look at those homeless Canadians along the route. We're going to put you guys up in a nice warm accommodation and get some cash in your pocket. But don't look at all those homeless people. They're just bad people. Yep. Oh, Canada, our home and fictional land. You know, all of this stuff is coming quick, coming from every possible direction at us at the same time. You know, how you have the head of the OPP and high-up guy in RCMP all of a sudden starting a weed company. I mean, just think about that. Oh, we had a change of heart. It was the veterans that changed our heart. Well, you know how many veterans are either homeless or barely getting by? You know how many veterans are fighting for the money, for the compensation they're supposed to be getting, their pensions and that, which is being denied to them? And then you, Fantino, and the other guy use the veterans as a reason that you started a weed company, knowing full well it was probably financed by the government. Both these guys were in the government, so chances are their weed company was financed by the government to sell to the government. But at the same time, anybody else that grows and sells is going to jail, and anybody that should smoke a joint while they're driving is going to go and pay a hefty fine. This is how your so-called government works. It is, make no mistake about it, okay, it is, by definition, an organized crime syndicate. And just like an organized crime syndicate, they use the cops or the thugs to keep you in line. Now, we're going to have to step out of line if we're going to hang on to this country. Anyways, I think we're about out of time. You can't even pick up. Anyways, I think I'll go and start a crop. Anyways, we're out of time.
Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for their mom. They shoot.